Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Filecoin Community Meetup series. Today, we have a meetup entirely focused on NFTs, which is extremely exciting, something that is very hot in the ecosystem right now. I'll give it just a couple more minutes. I know we are starting a little bit late, but let folks trickle in. Introduce yourself in the chat if you'd like to. Let us know where you're tuning in from, etc. What your favorite food is, what you're drinking today, as some people always like to ask. Let's see. I'm actually in Miami, Florida today. It is relatively sunny and beautiful. We've had some hot weather, but not a bad place to be during COVID. So I know we've got some folks from all over the place. Very exciting. Toronto, love it. Haven't been to Canada in quite some time. Vancouver, I was just in Vancouver right before the pandemic started. Oregon, San Diego, I love it. That's awesome. Truly have people from all over the globe. Holland, wow, amazing. Love that. Okay, folks, I think we can go ahead and get going. We've got quite a few people here right now. So let's get started. Hello, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily, and I will be your host for today's May Meetup. Today, we have an extremely exciting themed meetup entirely focused on NFTs, featuring presentations from Fleek, Filecoin, Kiko, Protocol Labs' Alan Shaw, and Mike Gelser. As always, before we begin, I'd like to remind you of the Filecoin Community Code of Conduct that is linked in the chat. By joining us today, you are agreeing to abide by the rules so that we may have a successful and productive meetup, so thank you. We launched the Filecoin Meetup series as an opportunity for us to gather as Filecoin community members to share the incredible projects that are being built in the Filecoin ecosystem. And as usual, we have a fantastic lineup of presentations for you today. But before we begin, I would like to highlight a few amazing milestones, updates, and upcoming events in the ecosystem. Since we last met in April, IPFS Union announced an investment to build a large industrial park focused on Filecoin mining. IPFS Union is a leading infrastructure provider for the blockchain industry headquartered in China. IPFS Union has long been a tremendous supporter of the Filecoin and IPFS mission and ecosystem, and has established deep economic ties with tech companies in Asia, including Alibaba, to support the growth of decentralized technologies. IPFS Union has announced a large investment in a Filecoin mining facility as part of the Big Data Industrial Park. Upon completion, it will be the largest IPFS and Filecoin distributed storage infrastructure project in China. Check out the link in the chat for a full Q&A with their team. Now in April, Digital Mob launched the first version of their Filecoin miner reputation system, which is available now at filrep.io. A reliable reputation system is crucial for the well-functioning of the Filecoin ecosystem, and storage clients must navigate a sea of storage miners and discover which ones that are the best match for all of their specific needs. These are the exact reasons that Digital Mob built the Filecoin reputation system. Now try it for yourself via the link in the chat. We are also extremely excited to introduce NFT.storage. A service that is backed by Protocol Labs and Pinata, specifically storing NFT data. NFT.storage allows devs to protect their NFT assets and associated metadata through content addressing and decentralized storage, ensuring that all NFTs follow best practices to stay accessible in the long term. We also have Alan Shaw with us today, who will join for a full overview of the storing platform. Now on April 29th, the Filecoin network upgraded to version 12. The upgrade introduced version 4 of the spec actors implementation, the set of built-in actors that specify the rules of the Filecoin protocol. The new version of specs actors was designed to be significantly more performant, thus speeding up block validation times. Filecoin core devs from Lotus, Venus, and Forest came together to implement and ship this upgrade with mere weeks. And node operators across time zones demonstrated their responsive upgrade times to rapidly bring these performance improvements to the whole network. Now, last week, Wolfram Blockchain Labs announced in a new collaboration with Protocol Labs that they will offer developers the opportunity to leverage storage, peer-to-peer networking, and other protocols to complement their existing applications. Wolfram is integrating their distributed ledger technology platform with IPFS and Filecoin to add new decentralized functionality and expanded storage to their existing blockchain features. Through the integration, devs will be able to access new tools from Wolfram Technologies, including Wolfram Programming Language, Cloud, and Notebooks. Learn more via the blog post linked in the chat. And finally, I would like to invite you to join us all for Web3 Weekend, a weekend hackathon bringing together a virtual collective of passionate creatives and engineers for 2 days of creating anything amazing on Web3. Find the link to register in the chat. And now, after all of that, that is it from me. And before we begin the NFT presentations today, we do have a quick update from Mike Gelsler, who will be talking about Bedrock. Mike, you can take it away.
Okay, great. Just give me a moment to set up here, folks. Okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to talk just relatively briefly about a tool we're building called the DealBot. And just to set the stage a little bit, the DealBot is the first of a number of tools that we're building as part of an initiative called Bedrock overall. It's to improve the sort of the foundations of the Filecoin network, mainly using layer 2 solutions to improve things like miner discoverability, better user experience for end users, for DApp developers, etc. We're going to talk more about Bedrock in future iterations of this meeting and other community events, but I just wanted to start to kind of tell a little bit of the story of some of what's going on in Bedrock, and I felt the DealBot was a good place to start. So that's what we're going to cover in the next few minutes, and I think there should be enough time to take some questions. So feel free to write them in the chat if you have them. Okay, so I'm really just going to cover 3 things. What is the DealBot project? Why are we doing it? And how does it kind of fit into some of the future plans that we'll be unveiling over the course of the summer? Okay, so the DealBot project, it's like the name implies, there's an automated network of Lotus clients that go around the Filecoin network testing miners at random, testing storage deals with them, and then attempting to retrieve later on from them. And one of the uses of this is assessing the health of the network, like how many miners are actually functioning correctly, what kind of error messages are we getting back if a miner is not working correctly. I'm going to come back at the end and explain a little bit more some of the other reasons we want to do this. But this network of DealBots, it's not just a single Lotus instance, it's multi-region. We have a whole Kubernetes deployment, which you can actually, all of this is open source, like everything we do at PL. So you can go to that GitHub link at the bottom, and you can see the DealBot code as it is now and all of the kube deployment files. But the idea is to deploy multiple DealBots to multiple regions. And we have some measures in place to keep changing the IP addresses and peer IDs and wallets and so forth that are used by DealBots, so that we don't want people to game the system and just whitelist the DealBot and then it ends up producing data that's not really representative of the network. And lastly, I just want to make clear, all of the data on miners that is generated by the DealBot is going to be completely public. We'll talk in a future discussion about how that's going to be accessible, but the idea is to make data available to the community so that people can understand, whether it's end users or other miners can understand the performance of different miners on the network. So this is a diagram of what a deal bot, I call it a deal bot service here because it has a few different parts, but this is what a deal bot basically looks like. It's the stuff inside the green dashed line. So there's an overall orchestrator called the deal bot controller. That's the orange box you see. And then that controller can command instances of the deal bot that can be in various geographic regions. So in this diagram, you're seeing one deal bot in the EU, you're seeing one deal bot inside mainland China, you're seeing another deal bot in North America, and then each of those deal bots picks up tasks from the queue in the controller, and it will go out and perform a storage and retrieval test with a miner. So here there's 3 miners, there's 3 regions, that's a total of 9 deal attempts that are going to be made. And then ultimately the deal bot controller will spit out the results of each of those deal attempts. Like what was attempted, what was the outcome, you know, did it succeed, did it fail? If it failed, what errors occurred? And so that's the fundamental concept. Now, I want to talk about why are we doing this? What is the intended use of this? One of the main things is network health testing. In particular, we want to understand how we want to be able to understand which miners are accepting verified online storage deals, because it's important to the health of the network that, you know, sort of on average, if you throw a dart at a wall to pick your miner, we would like the majority of those darts to land on a miner that is accepting online storage deals, at least for verified data. Verified is another word for Fil Plus. It's also sometimes called data cap. So that's one thing that we really want to test. Although we're hoping to gather even more statistics than that, like how does deal success rates, how do they vary between verified versus unverified data? How does a particular miner might have an IP address in North America, but if we test its latency from 4 different geos and we discover that actually it has the highest performance in the EU, then that's useful data. It doesn't really matter what the geo IP address information says. What matters is what's the actual performance of that miner in a geography. Another reason for building the deal bot is bulk storage and retrieval. There's just a lot of use cases that come up where we or somebody else in the community wants to do bulk storage of like a large number of different files on Filecoin, or wants to do bulk retrieval of a bunch of different CIDs that are already present on the network. And the deal bot gives you a way to sort of script that and do it all in one kind of run. And the last one, which I'm going to be talking about more in the future, I'm not going to cover this too much today, is we want to sort of build the next generation of miner reputation and recommendation systems. So at the beginning of this talk, Emily talked about filrep.io, which is it's a miner reputation and ranking system that Digital Mob in Bulgaria it has built, and that's live right now. You can go to filrep.io and play around with it. We want to have more raw data to help improve these kind of services. And filrep.io is not the only one. There are a bunch of reputation services. Textile has another one I recommend. It's called Textile Miner Index. But we're hoping to sort of level up these services as the summer progresses. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to present. Let me pop over to the chat and see if there are any questions. And Emily or Raquel, please interrupt me when I go over my time.
No, you are good so far.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, okay, cool. It looks like a lot of people are saying hello to each other, which is awesome. I don't see too many questions about the deal bot. but I would encourage you to go check it out in the repo. It might be useful for something you're doing. And like I said, it's open source software. I mean, you know, we have our own ideas about why we at PL thought it was useful to build this, but anybody could use it for any kind of use case where you want to do a bunch of deals with a bunch of different miners. And sure, yeah, I can answer so the question is, what size files are used in DealBot deals? We actually would like to test a variety of different sizes. So maybe like small sizes like 2 gigabytes up to 32 gigabytes. We're not planning to try to go larger than 32 because it exceeds the sector size the majority of miners are using. But yeah, so we're thinking about testing small files, meaning 2 gigs, medium files, 8, 16 gigs, but then also testing the largest sizes, 32 gigs. And those large sizes are going to become increasingly important as we unveil some of the other tools that we're building this summer.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for giving me the chance to present.
Of course, no worries at all. We're happy to have you. And as Mike mentioned at the very beginning, we will be having some more folks who are working on this project join us over the next few meetups to come. So definitely keep in touch and stay tuned. And if you have any more questions, you can find Mike on the Filecoin Slack, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so next up we have Dev. Dev is the CTO at LivePlanet, which develops the Filecoin network. Previously, he worked at Intel, where he built massively parallel distributed systems for processing videos, and at Cloudera, where he worked on numerous data management products. Dev has over 6 patents in video and related technologies and an MBA from UC Berkeley. And yeah, that's about it. So there you go, Dev. Go ahead and get started.
Hey guys, thank you for having me here. Let me bring up my...
Happy to have you.
Yeah, super excited to be joining all of you here on this meetup. So I'm going to be talking about resilient NFT marketplaces. So if you, like Emily said, I'm the CTO here at LivePlanet, where we build Filecoin network. So Filecoin network is decentralized video processing platform. So since I'm talking to the Filecoin community here, the easiest way to think about Filecoin is video to video what Filecoin does to files. Now, the main difference between files and video is files, when they change from one device to another, let's say you're viewing a file on your mobile phone versus viewing a file on your desktop, the same file is usually portable and you can view it everywhere, let's say a PDF document. But that's not true when it comes to video files. Video files are different depending on the device that you're viewing at, because of the resolution, the codec requirements, and different technical requirements that come from the video. And also, one other really big and most important thing we do decentralized live video streaming. So like, for example, the meetup that I'm presently at, if this is presently streaming through a live streaming service, we can actually take Zoom and integrate and directly feed this stream into Filecoin network, and you'll get a live streaming feed out of our network that you can distribute it into your communities, your friends, and different places. So as we saw the NFT marketplace evolve over the past few months, we saw that a lot of NFTs had some sort of media attributes attached to it. So like it's either a video or an image, or almost all of the NFTs have some sort of media attributes attached to it. And it makes a perfect use case for us to process and store these NFTs, to process these NFTs on Filecoin network and store them on Filecoin network. So I'm going to be talking about our integration into Filecoin, as well as this slide is not moving. Okay, so if you look at the present NFT marketplaces, right? Let's say you're attempting to build a marketplace in 2021. There are three problems that you'll face. One, building a marketplace is super complex. You have to build, you take a lot of open source components, stitch them together, and you'll eventually, after months and months of development, you land at something that resembles NFT marketplace, because it's extremely complex to build this. There's a lot of components to get right. And then the second problem, which is the most important problem that we solve as a technology platform, is these NFT platforms and the way the NFTs are stored is presently pretty fragile. If you see some of the most popular and most recent NFTs that have been sold for millions and millions of dollars, you'll see that if you go dig deep into the ERC-721 token, you pretty much only end up holding that token. And if the token issuing entity cease to exist or pull the rug on purpose, that NFT is pretty much worthless, because let's say the NFT was stored on the centralized web servers of an issuing entity, and the entity is gone. Let's say the domain went down along with the entity, then you no longer have an NFT. All you have is a ERC-721 token that's living on Ethereum, which has nothing to do with the NFT. It's because its value is eroded along with the entity. And then the third thing that's pretty striking is how expensive the whole NFT, how expensive it is to get an NFT marketplace up and running. Not just the development costs, but also the gas fees on Ethereum. If you were to transact on any NFT on Ethereum, you'll end up spending $60 to $70 per transaction, and this is a pain that's felt across the industry. And not just that, and then after you have these NFTs minted and ready, storing them for a long period of time takes a lot of time, energy, and money. So we came up with a solution that I'm going to be demonstrating now. We call our goal is to make an NFT platform that is as simple as WordPress for blogging. So what you see there on my screen is a installer, where you can type, set parameters, configure everything that you have to configure for your NFT platform, and hit install. And the platform will get installed and get functional for you. So we're building these tool chains so that the communities, the VideoCoin communities, as well as Filecoin communities can benefit from the tool chain that we're building. But also, but that doesn't mean that we're building a product that is just for open source, right? Like everything we build is open source, but we also have production quality. We're putting production quality efforts into this because we have production quality plans for these softwares. So you can safely and happily use the stuff that we ship in production quality setups. And I'll show you some demos in just a bit. But that brings us, the reason why our NFT marketplace is something that is worth considering while you're building your next NFT platform is, it's very simple, right? Like the first thing is very simple. So you get everything you need to set up an NFT marketplace out of the box. So like whatever you need, the ERC-721 or the ERC-1155 contracts, the truffle suits, the scripts to deploy them, the backend APIs, the front-end APIs, the React app, anything you can imagine, it comes out off the box, just like you'd imagine WordPress comes out of the box and you install it and then you can write a blog. In the same way, when this thing comes out of the box, it'll be ready. And these things we've made several innovations in our platform. And one of the most important thing is we've invented something called a proof of ownership, where on top of taking the NFT media asset and storing it in Filecoin, we also attach it with a proof of ownership, which is cryptographically derived using video DRM technology. So like, we are video experts. We spend a lot of time in video. So we know how video DRM works. So we kind of twisted it to make it work as a proof of ownership for NFT. So what that lets you do is you can irrefutably prove that an NFT that is stored on Filecoin through this platform, you own it. And it's affordable, right? Like the main thing that we do here is the NFT, the contracts, and all of the Ethereum compatible stuff happens on the VideoCoin blockchain. And the VideoCoin blockchain is native. The gas fees are not high, because it's a really small fees there, and it scales pretty well. And you don't have to pay that much of gas fees. And all of the NFTs are stored down into Filecoin. And as you guys are aware, storing files on Filecoin is about 0.3 or 0.4% of the cost of storing it on AWS for long term. So you can actually get a long-term storage, hundreds of years of storage on Filecoin for a few dollars. And I'm sure it keeps changing, but you can guarantee longevity of your NFT well past your platform's existence, because if you store the NFT token on a Filecoin blockchain and then the associated media files on the Filecoin blockchain, because Filecoin is Ethereum compatible, you can use the keys to prove that you own the NFT quite irrefutably. So just briefly on the roles and responsibilities and how things work here. Like I said, when you deploy the NFT marketplace, it runs on Filecoin network, because on the Filecoin network, a lot of the heavy lifting happens, like the decentralized video processing, whether it's a media file or just an image file or any sort of document or anything. The proof of ownership is actually a re-encryption and wrapping the encrypted payload into a metadata that's stored in Filecoin. So that itself is quite an amount of compute work that happens on the Filecoin network. And because the way Filecoin network functions, our workers, the Filecoin worker participants, we have over 1,000 workers registered across the globe. They get chunks of this information, they process it, and then feed the proof of ownership back into the platform. And for doing so, they get compensated. And on top of that, they also do every video file that lands on the platform, needs a thumbnail, it needs a short version of it, and so on and so forth. So all of those several versions of the video are processed by Filecoin workers, and it's made available to the platform. And finally, after we have the encrypted videos, the encrypted, unencrypted videos, the thumbnails, the proof of ownership, and all of those things are written down into IPFS using Textile. And then from there, it's archived down based on the storage requirements and based on the longevity requirements that you can configure while you're installing the marketplace. And thus, the Filecoin workers get work, and then they get rewarded for storing the NFTs itself. So before I jump into the demo, what you get out of the box is you get a fully functional NFT marketplace, right? Like it's a React app you'll see now, and it has MetaMask integration. It has support for both ERC 1155 and 721. You can choose when you're installing it. It has support for the Wyvern protocol, which allows you to do bidding, all kinds of complex marketplace operations through that. And because of the way we have implemented it, the platform itself is directly compatible with OpenSea. So let's say you are running a marketplace and then you want it to be compatible with OpenSea, you can totally do that. There's a marketplace API available. I'm going to show that to you. And the marketplace API itself provides you all the backend that you require to get API up and running. And it has Filecoin integration. Like I said, all the heavy lifting for the video, the processing of the video, making sure that the NFT is encrypted, the proof of ownership, and all of the compute intensive stuff happens on the Filecoin network. And Filecoin integration via Textile is after everything's done, we push down. And all of this code is open source. And I'm going to start off with some of our demos here. So what you see in the background is the NFT marketplace. After you have installed fully up and running, this is how it looks. So in this, you can see there's like a bidding mechanism and all of those stuff, which we're working on this. We're presently in pre-alpha. We'll hit alpha in about a month. And when it hits alpha, you'll have all of these functional. But as you can see, presently, I've integrated it into MetaMask. Oh, you can't see the MetaMask window because of the way it's projecting, but it's connected to MetaMask here. You can see my account address. And that is how once you provide your MetaMask address, and then we use the public key to do all of the encryptions. So you sign a couple of transactions, but after that, all of your proof of ownership and etc. is calculated using your public keys, and it happens through the MetaMask integration. So all of the code that I'm going to be showing right now is open source. Presently, this repository is private, but it will be available publicly when we write about this meetup in our blog post, and we'll link it down. But in this, you can see all of the source code and also the architecture of the platform that we're using, how the marketplace works, how the databases are hooked up. And when you're doing that, when you're configuring, you provided your textile API keys, you provided your secrets and stuff. So those things work on the backend. So there's a backend API component. And this is where the marketplace API is documented and available here. And it gives you all kinds of APIs for providing account information, assets, authentication. You can have creators. Creators are basically the guys who create NFTs, readers, and it's quite thoroughly documented, so you can start using it. So I'm going to start off the demo with a quick Docker compose on the repository. So the repository you just saw, let's say you pull the Docker compose. So let's just go over the Docker compose configuration file. So in this, you can see the first thing it does is it sets up Ganache because our platform is fully compatible with any Ethereum compatible blockchain, and Filecoin is natively compatible with Ethereum. In this case, we're just going to set up a Ganache node so that you can locally set up everything and run. There's a Postgres node that comes up that deals with your backend marketplace, like all the creators, all the details about the NFT itself will be stored there. And then when the marketplace inits, where basically all of the contracts that need to be deployed and all of the actions that need to be happen through Truffle, all of those are automated. And finally, the NFT app, which is the React app, comes up. And we also have included an Explorer. Once the Explorer, you use the Explorer, you can see. Okay, I'm going to do Docker Compose up now. So it's basically, I've already pulled this and then built the demo. But it takes about 10 minutes to build all of the components, but you can see in my background, Ganache is up and running. So, and it has deployed all the contracts and everything's up and running. It's gotten the OpenZeppelin. It's pulled the OpenZeppelin 1155 and 721, deployed it, and the installer's up and running, right? So we want to make sure that the marketplace is as simple as this to use, because we're huge fans of WordPress, and then we think WordPress revolutionized the internet because it was so easy to use. And by making a platform that's this easy to use, we want to drive usage on Filecoin network as well as on Filecoin network. So now this thing's up and running. You can go and check the documentation that I've provided here. Let me bring back my browser. So in the documentation, you can, once you have, so you can go here. So like right now, it's saying switch to main network because I previously showed you on Rinkeby network. So right now, I'm going to switch to the local network here. As soon as I switch to local network, this one will allow you to connect in here. And there you go. So like right now, as soon as I switch to local network, you can see it's a local host demo. There's nothing here because, just like launched. All you have to do is press on this plus button where it'll take you to a page where you can now create an NFT. So right now, I'm going to like drag and drop. Let me just zoom this out a bit so you can see this better. So I'm going to drag and drop a video that I have stored over here. As soon as we drag and drop the video, it's going to upload the video. Oh, demo jitters. Okay, let's just do this here. Let's switch to Rinkeby. Okay, I'm going to click on plus, and then I create a new video. So I'm just going to drag and drop it here. So it uploads the video. So at this point, after it's done uploading, it starts processing it and makes it available for us to create the NFT. But let's give this a name, Twilight Zone. I think I got that spelling right, hopefully. Then I can give this. Okay, so I gave it a quick description. And presently, there are a bunch of stuff here that you can configure. Like you can configure how much royalties you want to take, what kind of, whether you want to receive bids, and whether you want to set an instant sale price. And all of those things are available and exposed in the API. Presently, these parts of the UI itself is not functional. So like when you get and install this, you'll see that these buttons, for example, does nothing because we're still integrating it. We're pre-alpha. At alpha, all of these things should be working. And when you hit create video item, so there are three things it does. It starts by creating a proof of ownership. The proof of ownership is what differentiates our platform and uses both Videocoin network and Filecoin network very uniquely. So it takes the video, encrypts it, and then after encrypting it, wraps it around, and then creates the metadata and writes it on to IPFS. So right now it's uploading the data to IPFS. Once that's done, it takes the metadata that it just now used to create the token and then takes that and mints the token itself. So like now after I did that, so I can click on Twilight Zone. This is the token that I just now minted. So all of this information here will be functional at alpha. But the main things that we want to give attention to here is the metadata, right? So like, let's say I said, I just now created this token. I created and added the Twilight Zones in description, etc. So if I go and view this on IPFS, what's happening to this? Okay, so this is pulling so this is the video that we just now encrypted and hosted on IPFS. So it's just basically the Twilight Zone video. Now, because it is encrypted, it's not playing back, right? It's refusing to play back. And that's actually an important detail that we'll cover in just a bit. So all of the metadata here is encrypted, also available on the Rinkeby network. So right now, when I say see this on Videocoin network, it's going to Rinkeby because I have set it up to work on in Rinkeby. But the data here, right? Like if you use this data and then there's actually one other step it needs to happen. It's taking some time to mine. But there's one other step that happens after it mines. You can actually see the input data decoded, and then you'll see the metadata that is available for as stored in the file in the IPFS network. So like what you're seeing right now, we've passed this out of Textile Hub, and it's available here. But when you click on View IPFS after the minting process completes on Rinkeby, you can actually see the JSON metadata available there in the IPFS through Textile Hub. So that is the present status of where we are. And I'm going to finish my demo by showing you another tool that we have built up. So this is still work in progress again. But this is one of the first NFTs that we created on our platform, and this is stored on IPFS. And this is the IPFS link. It's actually showing you the name, description, and this is the metadata that lands on the ERC-721 token ID. So like. I've written an extensive blog about this. You can read about it on our Medium. I won't go into details because it'll take me a lot of time. But the main things that you can see here is this animation URL, an encrypted file, an IPFS file, and the DRM key. So this DRM key is the most important part of the proof of ownership. So now, once you have, when you download the source code and install and run it, you'll see a tool here where you can actually set the DRM data, basically the link from the ERC token, add it here. And when you get the DRM data and provide it your private key. So remember, when we sign proof of ownership, we always use the public key to sign it. But if you provide your private key, only you have access to your private key, right? Like we don't have access to it. So when you provide the private key and then say decrypt data, it pulls a key for you. So this is your proof of ownership. So let's see how that thing works. So I'm going to bring up another terminal screen here, and let's go here. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you see the CID here. The CID that I showed you in the, let's bring this one up here. So let's see the last 4 digits of the CID. It's like JFMVX, right? And the first 4 is QMQIVR. So if you go back here, you see it's the same CID that I'm pulling over here for this video. And when I try to play it, right, go back and play it here, you see that it just won't play because the video has a whole bunch of errors. It's saying that I can't play the video because it's encrypted. So let's see, I stop this and then now play the same exact video, but by providing it the decryption key. So let's say dash decryption key. And then paste the key that I got from this one over here. So I take the key and hit enter. And now this video now plays. So this is the video this is the first NFT that we ever created on this platform. And you can see that now this video is playing. It's the same exact video that refused to play when I try to play it without providing the key. Now can play totally fine because it has the key. So now this is kind of abstract and hard to understand in a live demo scenario. So I've actually written a long blog post about this. But what it means is by using your private key, that's what you did here. You use your private key and use the metadata that was stored in IPFS. By using a combination of those two, you can get a third key that is used to encrypt the video. And you're the only person that can derive this key and decrypt that video. And you can thus prove that irrefutably that you own this video. So let's say 100 years from now, the NFT you purchased is still available. And the file is still available on Filecoin. And you handed over the keys to your NFT through your estate. Let's say your estate has to prove that you actually own this NFT. All they have to do is pull the latest version of the file from Filecoin, use their private keys, get the decryption key, and then decrypt the data and play the video. And because we're using open standards, because we're using open source code, the encryption algorithms we're using is open source and open standards. Everything that we do can be replicated not just today, but 100 years from now or whenever it needs to be done. So that is my demo. So thank you so much. And I hope I did not run over.
Thank you so much, Deva. That's really fascinating. It's super amazing to see the capabilities that you guys have put in place here. Let's see if anyone has any questions in the chat. Oh, you're getting some serious love as you have been throughout the entire presentation. Let's see if there are any questions that we've missed. Someone wants to know if you have an ETA for the beta.
Yeah, so we're pre-alpha. We're targeting July 1st for alpha, where you should be having a fully functional platform by then, fully integrated into Filecoin.
Amazing. Someone's asking, is it up to marketplaces to factor in the video coin costs up front?
Yes, and also the Filecoin costs, right? Like it depends on, like, let's say you want to store a file for 100 years, then your costs are different from, let's say you want to store a file for a day, right? So those are all decisions that you have to make while you're building the marketplace. And those are some things that you'll configure when you're installing the marketplace as well. And in our production version of this, we'll have to make those choices ourselves, right? Like whatever use case we apply this to, and our production quality one, we'll have to decide how long a file has to live on Filecoin.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see what else. Can you use fiat for video coin?
Oh yes, so like one of the unique features of our network itself is we've implemented a fiat bridge where when we try to target bigger companies, Fortune 500 companies, etc., they get really nervous about buying crypto and then bringing it into a SaaS platform and using it. So we've added a fiat bridge, so you can actually use credit cards on our platform. So you can do similar stuff because of the way VideoCoin works and the way these APIs are integrated. Let's say your VideoCoin network account is set up with credit card. You can just continue to use that, no problem.
Okay, great. All right, last question. Could this be applied in the context of an aught-style subscription platform where video NFTs are shared/tracked within the marketplace?
Yes, so VideoCoin is Ethereum compatible, meaning you can write your own smart contracts. So let's say you have a different implementation in mind. You can just modify the smart contracts and doing sharing and tracking, and all of those are fairly trivial. With using Solidity, you can achieve those goals quite easily.
Amazing. Okay, we still have a couple more questions, but Deva, if you want to respond to them in the chat, feel free to, but we do have to chug along because we have about 3 more presentations to go.
Yep, thank you so much for the opportunity, guys.
Of course, that was wonderful. Okay, perfect. So next up we have Dan Gossin. He does the data and analytics with extensive global experience working on 4 different continents, and he works for Kiko. He has a breadth of knowledge that extends to every facet of the data and analytics landscape, from large-scale data federations and big data projects to digital transformation. All right, Dan, please go ahead.
Thanks. Thanks, Emily. Sorry, it's Dawn, not Dan. Anyway, no worries. Great. Yeah, thanks for inviting me to speak. This is going to be, it might be a little bit schizophrenic, but I'm going to try and rip through this stuff, hopefully make up some time. Anyway, can everybody see my screen? I'm going to present. Yeah, so as Emily mentioned, Don Gossin, I'm CEO of Kiko. We're a Swiss-based organization aimed at creating unstoppable digital ecosystems. A big chunk of us on the team were on Ocean Protocol. I was a co-founder on Ocean before I spun out and started Kiko. We've focused on developing out new propositions in the Web3 space. So built Ocean first, then helped build and launch Cello, and did some work prior to the launch of Filecoin as well. So we've grown quite substantially over the last couple of years, from 3 to we're just under 30 at this point. And I think we've contributed pretty significantly to the overall ecosystem. I think the stuff that we've had, our reach kind of touches on 8 billion worth of market cap in the space at the moment. So what do we do? Well, we kind of do it all, and we work with a bunch of different companies. I'm going to go over a bunch of the stuff that we're doing with Filecoin in particular, and how it kind of relates overall to the NFT space, but focus on one piece of the pie in particular. But broadly speaking, we do a lot of bespoke work for partners and help launch networks. So the stuff that we've worked on for Filecoin in particular, we built Fil Plus. Mike mentioned that earlier. So this is a notary service that helps distribute or disperse data cap through the miners, so that you can have basically verified clients within the ecosystem. It's intended to maximize the amount of useful storage available in Filecoin. We're also building BitScreen in collaboration with another organization called Murmuration Labs. This is a content moderation service that's going to assist miners when they're handling complaints or reports of issues specifically about the content that they're storing. And then the piece that I really actually want to focus on is on Nevermind integration. So part of what we do isn't just supporting other projects build, but we also build our own stuff. And one solution is called Nevermind. It's I'll dive into that now. It's the world's first decentralized collaborative computing platform. So if you're familiar with data and analytics, and in particular the subdomain of privacy enhancing technology, there's some new terminology that's emerging in the space, in particular around this concept of collaborative computing. Conceptually, it's kind of similar to the emergence of cloud computing about 15-ish years ago, where now assets with that are available can now be leveraged across multiple organizations, and those organizations could be like intra-organization, so within one larger organization and within its own sort of walled garden, or it can cross those walled gardens and connect assets between organizations. So effectively what we're doing is making it easy to share data in a safe and trusted way, so that we can focus on big problems and unlock new value streams. The way that we do this is we focus on basically understanding what data you have. So with this, the solution basically allows you to track with high fidelity the provenance of an asset. Where's it coming from? Where's it going? Who's using it? How's it being used, etc. Obviously, everybody on this call will be familiar with the overall sort of incentive paradigm that exists in our domain space. And then obviously, ultimately, what we want to do is help connect different communities together so that they can start to leverage cross-border assets. From a capabilities point of view, what do we offer? The solution offers quite a simple functionality from a data point of view, but it's the cataloging functionality. So you can basically publish, find, discover, request access through what would, I think, generally be deemed kind of a marketplace, but in the data and analytics world is categorized as a catalog. The way that it works, and I'll get into some of the architecture in a second, is through a decentralized access control mechanism. Basically through smart contracts, we codify business processes and the associated workflows for accessing predominantly off-chain assets. So, there's a lot of work going on in Filecoin in particular, and other initiatives within the Web3 space to migrate assets over to the Web3 space. But the reality is the majority, or at least the preponderance of valuable assets exist off-chain in more centralized type scenarios. So what we're enabling is the access to, in particular, those types of assets. There's a bounty service implemented in the solution, along with communal governance and built-in rewards. And then one of the more powerful components is DISC, or data in situ computation. It's basically the ability to access a federated or distributed asset remotely and compute against it. So from an architecture point of view, how does it work? I mean, the primary component is the Nevermind gateway, which exists adjacent to an asset. In this case, it's a data asset. Those assets can exist sort of anywhere. They can be local to your machine. They could be in the cloud, in AWS or Azure, et cetera. The gateway handles basically any type of deployment for basically any type of data asset. And part of what we worked on with Filecoin was integrating the Filecoin system as a data storage facility. So effectively what we have is this decentralized access control mechanism. It operates in a similar fashion. If you were to really, abstract the concept, it operates in a similar fashion to a data DNS. It allows you to publish assets on chain, or actually the DID of the asset, and then makes that asset resolvable to an off-chain data repository, and controls the access, etc. What this enables, in conjunction with the disk component, the data in situ computation, is the orchestration, as I mentioned before, of remote computation, which enables use cases, in particular in the space of federated learning or federated computation. So this is sort of just a very generic, high-level architecture diagram of how that would be structured. The assets themselves are registered on chain and then discoverable by, say, a data scientist off chain. There's a Python SDK that will integrate with the most common data science utilities, and a data scientist could discover the assets, request access to them, possibly pay for access, and retrieve access to the assets, and then deploy their computation workloads to those assets in situ. Obviously, there's a bunch of preconditions that need to be established here. I'm happy to take those offline, but there's basic infrastructural requirements to make some of this capability, to enable some of this capability. So what have we done with Filecoin? Effectively, what we did was we took the Nevermind gateway and had it modified it so that it computes with, so that it can speak with PowerGate. And that now makes the Filecoin system available as a storage utility within the Nevermind ecosystem. That obviously gives us an incredible amount of power when we talk about moving towards a more decentralized construct. And what we want to move towards is this type of capability, where Filecoin, along with AWS or Azure, plus potentially on-prem or on-machine data assets, can be accessed and computed against in a federated or remote capacity. Why is this interesting from an NFT point of view? So finally got into the topic at hand. So, when you think about non-fungible tokens and the assets that they represent, in large part, they exist off-chain. So how do we enable the consumption of these assets? And, Dev mentioned the fragility aspect of certain components of what we're building. They're addressing it in one way, and I think we're addressing it in sort of another methodology. The intent is somewhat similar, but the ability. What we're trying to enable here is the ability to bring to bear these off-chain assets, so that they're leverageable within a Web3 ecosystem. We're doing this, by creating the infrastructure that provides a more agency-centric approach. So as opposed to existing solutions, let's just take, for example, the art space, which removes some of the control on the artist side. With an implementation that's built on top of Nevermind, the artist would retain control of their asset until they so choose, and as the protocol dictates. So basically, it's entirely modular, and up to the owners. Under the owner's control, they dictate how the asset can be used and where it can be used and how it can be sold and how the asset ownership can be transferred. So effectively what we have here is a solution that would enable individuals to control not just the access to the asset, but also how it's purchased and then how that ownership is transferred. As Dev mentioned, with most existing solutions, that ownership often only equates to the token itself and not actually the asset. Whereas with Nevermind, we actually orchestrate not just the ownership transfer of the NFT, of the ERC 1155, but also of the asset itself. That could be through, migrating the infrastructure. Let's just say, it's a cloud service. We can orchestrate the migration of that ownership function, or, there is like file sharing capabilities, et cetera. So where are we going from here? Like everybody else, I think in the space, we're building a marketplace for consumption and sales of assets. We should be dropping it in the next couple of months. And yeah, looking forward to continuing the journey with Filecoin and leveraging to a much greater extent the capabilities of decentralized storage. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for listening to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Don. That was amazing. And obviously super exciting to see what Nevermind and Kiko are doing. I know that you are in Europe, so we will not subject you to any questions today, but I'm sure that you're on the Filecoin Slack, so if anyone needs to get in touch with you, they can find you there. And then also if you have any links to share to blog posts or anything, please feel free to put them in the chat, and that way folks can get in touch.
Will do. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Okay, next up, we have our very own Alan Shaw, who will be presenting on NFT.storage, and he'll be talking about IPFS and Filecoin's role in NFT.storage. All right, Alan, if you are ready, you can go ahead and start presenting.
Hey, thank you. Let's just share that screen. Here we go. Here we can you see this?
Yep, it looks beautiful.
Okay. All right, Filecoin Meetup. Here we go. Hi, thanks for sticking around. I'm Alan, and I'm an engineer at Protocol Labs. I'm pretty new to NFTs. I guess we kind of all are. But when I found out about them and I started getting interested, I was pretty happy to see that IPFS was being used to store them. That was turn out for the books. That was brilliant. So for example, I can just sort of open up any kind of marketplace nearly, check out just any NFT that has been created here. I'm not sure if this will work because I just tried this and the ether scan was down, so if it doesn't, then that's fine. No, it's not working. Okay, so I can check out any NFT, and so instead of inspecting it in ether scan, I'm just going to have a look. But look, here we go. This is an IPFS hash. It's all in IPFS. That's rad. That's super cool. So anyway, why are things in IPFS already? That's an interesting question, and the answer is because in Ethereum at least, it's prohibitively expensive to store data on chain, and IPFS has some really nice properties for off-chain data that we'll go into in a little bit. So that's super good news. And so as I learned a little bit more about NFTs, I came to realize that the developers that are actually enabling NFT creators, so the people who are kind of building these marketplaces, so people like Foundation, like Super Rare, like Zora, they kind of really care about their users being able to access their data. Should they just disappear, poof, into thin air? They don't want all of those awesome NFTs that have been created and sold to just disappear like that. No. So IPFS really fits this bill and can solve the problem. So it's really not all that surprising that's being used. But in case you're kind of new to IPFS, which if you're here, hopefully you're not, but let me just explain some of the basics. I've just chosen a NFT at random here. This is some data that I'm going to put in the in IPFS. It's a mountain, and it's been generated or something. It's an NFT that I chose at random. But anyway, if you're gonna put some data in an IPFS node, firstly get a CID, a content identifier. CIDs are a kind of cryptographic hash, and they address the content, not its location. And that means that any given CID will always refer to that same piece of content, or to kind of put it a different way, if the content changes, then the CID would change. So as we've heard in previous presentations already today, if we didn't store a CID on chain and we used like a regular URL, then that could be problematic. And why is that? Well, because the content at that URL, at the end of the URL, maybe it's like a Google Drive or something, or just someone's domain. It could be just, they could just delete it, and then you'd have an NFT that you've paid money for, but actually you wouldn't be able to access the asset behind it. It could be removed by the owner. It could be the domain or the hosting could expire, for example. The image could be altered. So you might have a NFT of a fantastic cat, and it might be changed into a dog. And you're like, oh no, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I paid for. So that sucks. Or there's another problem where just that URL just might not be accessible from where you are. There might be restrictions to what you can request, and you actually need someone or some peer to be closer to you that can actually provide that file. So yeah. So how does this work, basically? If a IPFS node has that file already, another IPFS node comes along and says, I've got the CID for this content, I want this content. It asks the network, it eventually connects to that peer, and it receives the file, hooray. And now two nodes in the network can serve that content. So that's super rad, kind of like this. So another node comes along, it asks the network for that same CID, and then both of those nodes can actually provide content to that node. So that's cool. So that happens. Now all three of them have it, hooray. And what this means is that that original node can actually just go away like that. It's gone. And the data will still be retrievable from other nodes in the network. So that's kind of cool. Okay, as with anything, there are caveats. There are two caveats. Caveat number one is that, this is kind of obvious, but if all of the nodes that have the content actually disappear, they go away, then no one has the content. You can't get it because no one has it. So that's kind of obvious one. The second caveat is garbage collection. So depending on your configuration in IPFS for GC, it might run at a certain time, so like periodically perhaps, or you might have configured it to run when your repo storage limit is hit. So when you've ingested a certain amount of data, it might garbage collect all of the junk. Or it can be run manually. You can run it from the command line. You can run it as an API call. So what you kind of need to do is tell IPFS that the content is not garbage. It's in fact a super rare NFT. It's not trash. Do not throw it away. And that in IPFS is what we refer to as pinning. And if you don't pin the data, then it will eventually be garbage collected. And so even if the content that's in IPFS is super popular, it can still eventually exit the network. So yeah, not cool. But so these two caveats are generally why developers use a third-party service. So like Pinata, like Textile, like Fleek, to store their content, because they have nodes that are publicly available and they stay online 24/7, and they'll obviously pin the content so it doesn't actually get garbage collected. So that's that. NFT.storage. NFT.storage is something we've been working on, and it's a place where you can store your NFT data, and you can store it there safe in the knowledge that it will be there tomorrow, hooray. And it hopefully goes some way to solving that permanence problem of things disappearing from the network. And so it's free for as long as possible. And the idea with this is that it should just be easy. It should be really easy. So let me tell you how it works. How does it work? Well, it's pretty easy. You upload NFT data to NFT.storage, and then from there, NFT.storage stores that data on a number of IPFS nodes that are running. So okay, so far so good. But what's different from like a regular pinning service? Well, the difference is that behind the scenes, NFT.storage is actually negotiating deals with Filecoin miners to store your data on the Filecoin network. So you might be familiar with it. the Filecoin network actually incentivizes miners to store data, and they get paid to store data, and they typically get paid for retrieval as well. So that's kind of cool. So why is that good? Well, if NFT storage were to just go away, and like every single IPFS peer who ever fetched that content went away as well, then the miners would still have the content. And you can think of miners as just another set of IPFS peers with really strong incentives to continue storing the data. They're going to be around for a while. They've committed to this, and they get penalties for not storing data. So that's that. So yeah, back to NFT storage. We launched this a few weeks ago. The URL is nft.storage. Who knew storage is a top level domain? But it is. So you should take a look, check it out. We have a really simple HTTP API. It's expressed as an open API schema. If you know what that is, then you know what that is. But what that means to us is that we can generate really nice documentation websites like this based off of that open API schema. So that's good. It's a really simple API. There's not much there to it. We have an official client in JS. It's got TypeScript types. It's got nice API docs. We've just launched a new metadata API, which should make minting NFTs way easier. And you can create ERC 1155 compatible metadata. All you do is give it an object, and in the place of the properties that would typically contain URLs to images or other assets on the internet, you actually give it the bytes. And what the client does behind the scenes is it uploads those to nft.storage and replaces them with the URL. So you get IPFS URLs in your metadata. It creates that all for you. It's compliant with the spec. So it should just be super easy. So that's that. Okay, so Open API schema again. Because of that, the Open API schema, you should just be able to generate a client in any language. And so we were like, okay, that's cool, but why don't we just do that for people? So we chose some big programming languages and then just generated them. So I mean, your mileage may vary with these. They might be a little clunky to use, but because they're built by a machine. But yeah, if you're using them, then let us know. And if there's anything wrong with them, please send a pull request. That would be rad. But yeah, so other clients are available. Alrighty, so let's do a real quick demo. Let me just stop that share for now. I'll share the whole screen. Here we go. Okay, here we are. So this is a JavaScript demo. I've installed nft.storage, the client from in the npm. It's called nft.storage. Just import it. We can import some web APIs that are not native to Node. So you can use this in the browser and it will just use the native ones. So we've got the nft.storage constructor. We've got the endpoint, which is the default. You actually don't need this. You do need an API token. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my browser and bring up the website. I should already. What have we got? So here we go. I'm logged in already. If I head over to API keys, here we go. I've got none at the moment. So let's just create a demo. Create one. There it is. I will delete this afterwards. So don't even try to steal it. So you need an API key. Paste that in. That's all good. And then all we've got here is just a tiny function. And what we're going to do is we're just going to store, this is the most simple API that we have. It's just store a file. And we've got this cool file called hello. Yes, this is dog. This is my favorite dog on the internet. And so I'm just going to, yes, this is dog.jpg. So I'm going to store this file. And so once we've instantiated the client, passed it our token, we've read in this file, and we're just passing it to this store blob function. So yeah, like nice TypeScript types and stuff all in there. So that's cool. You get nice docs and things. And we're just going to log out the CID, and then we have this status API, so we can check on the status of this particular NFT that we've uploaded. So we can see stuff like the pinning status, and we can also see like the size of the NFT as well as the Filecoin deals that it has made it into. So here we are. Let's run this. Store blob. I think I need to save this before I run it. Otherwise bad things happen. Here we go. Whoop. There we are. Okay. So we printed out the CID. This is the CID of this thing. And then this second object, this is the status object that you get back when calling the status API. And it has a deals property. This is an array of deals. So this particular NFT that I've uploaded is in these Filecoin deals. We have some miners here. We're typically trying to get each NFT into free miners minimum, but you can see all of the information about the deals that are activated here. These currently expire like 2022, and then next year when that comes around, you'll get more deals in this array for where it's been restored somewhere else. So that's cool. We see the size, we get the pinning status as well. That's interesting because there are you may not have heard of this, but there's a thing called the pinning service API in IPFS, and you can set NFT.storage as a pinning service in IPFS, and then just tell it to pin it. And if you tell NFT.storage to pin it, then it will go away and find that content and import it essentially. So this status might not be pinned in that case, but if you're uploading stuff, it will just be pinned anyway. This is boring. So this is cool. This is the status API. This is authenticated endpoint, so you have to kind of know what you have uploaded. But we do have a like a public endpoint, which is just api.nft.storage, and you can just check any CID you like to see what status, what deals it's already in. I should note that I've kind of cheated here. If you can see that this pin was actually created a while ago, so it takes a while to get into a Filecoin deal, and typically you'd see just a status down here of queued for a while, and then eventually it will make it into a deal. So I've kind of cheated here because this has already been made it into a deal. So if I upload the same file, then you get the same result. So that's kind of interesting. We also have brand new, this is this ERC 1155 metadata API that I was talking about. You just give it an object, and this kind of looks like the spec for ERC 1155. And you just, where you have like image, where you'd normally see a URL here, you just pass it the bytes, and it actually will go away and upload all of these things, all of these files that you give it, and then give you back an object that looks exactly like this, but these files have been replaced with IPFS URLs, and hopefully it should be able to run that just to check that it works. I just need to get the faces out of my way, and so let's just run that. I'm going to need that API key, so let's grab it from over here. Stop. Okay, here we go. So yeah, we passed it an object that looked like this. It had some files in a file for the image, and what's given us back is here we go. We've got a IPFS URL. So this is metadata.json with the CID, and then this is the metadata contents, and we have the file. This is a URL object. You can just call toString on it, and you get back something like this. And so we've got this this PinPy image. This is what we just uploaded, which is PinPy pins. It's relevant. Cool. So let's stop that share, and I will just finish up by sharing the slides again, if I can figure it out. Here we go. Whoosh. Cool. You should see the slides again, hopefully. Shout if you don't. Cool. So the other thing that's coming soon that is really interesting is that we're going to be starting our hashtag Save the NFTs initiative. So what we're going to do is crawl the Ethereum chain from Genesis, and I mean there were probably not too many NFTs at Genesis, but you get the idea. We'll upload all of them, and we'll upload all of them to NFT.storage so that they won't be lost into the sands of time, basically. And we'll upload the ones that are IPFS hashes, but also ones that are just URLs, so that if those domains should ever just disappear, then we should have them on IPFS still. So no more will all of these incredible works that people have created be lost to the sands of time. And the other thing is that we're not going to, it's hopefully not going to just be Ethereum. We're going to see if we can save the NFTs on other blockchains. And of course, we'll visualize all that data on NFT.storage. We'll create a new NFT checker. There's already an NFT checker, but like this one, it'll be better. And it will show you like how well provided your CID is in IPFS. Like if there's lots of nodes that have it, it might also tell you all of the Filecoin deals and other good stuff about your CID. And then you'll be able to submit CIDs to NFT.storage if they're not very well pinned and stuff like that. So we'll make all those metrics available for developers to build whatever tools they would like to build with that as well. But yeah, Save the NFTs is coming soon. I'm going to save them. And thank you very much for listening to my talk. And you should go and check out NFT.storage.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alan. I might be biased, but it's a pretty incredible way to store your NFTs and make sure that they are there forever. Alan is also not going to take questions today just because of time. And we do have one more presentation left, but you can find him on the Filecoin Slack. I believe it's at Alan Shaw. Is that correct, Alan? Perfect. Okay, great. And he will answer all of your NFT questions, all of your IPFS questions, and all of your NFT.storage questions there. So thank you so much. Okay, and last but not least, a face that I'm sure many of you are familiar with if you've been a member of the Filecoin community for a while now. It's Harrison Hines, who is the co-founder and CEO of Fleek.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Harrison.
So I'll keep this short because I know it's been a long meetup, but I figured I would just give everyone an update on some of what we've been working on and how we're supporting NFTs. And so following up on Alan's talk, I'd say one of the updates is we do have all files that are essentially uploaded to IPFS via Fleek. That's across our hosting product and also our storage product, using NFT.storage as an extra layer of redundancy. And so we don't advertise that or market that yet, but now in addition to Fleek pinning all of the files on IPFS on our IPFS nodes, we are also then sending them to NFT.storage, and they are storing copy or pinning all those IPFS files onto their IPFS nodes. So it just creates another essentially redundancy layer in addition to our IPFS infrastructure, as well as the Filecoin backup that we include as well automatically for all files using Fleek for IPFS storage. So that is now 3 layers that you get. In addition to that, we also now offer which is an S3 backup, and that's just in case something happens where for whatever reason, for a lot of our customers, we are pushing things to the limit in terms of how much bandwidth and uploads we're doing and scaling our infrastructure as quickly as possible. But that's just in case anything happens, you have a backup of the file in S3 Glacier. So this way it could always be re-uploaded. You don't have to ask customers to re-upload anything. But with the NFT.storage redundancy layer in Filecoin, we're pretty set that you should be okay. But as we're growing, as our customers are getting bigger, as the stakes are getting higher, that has been a big focus of ours, is making sure that, you know, not only when things are going good, are your files safe and performant, but also in, you know, disaster scenarios, you're covered too. So we do have actually a V3 of our storage product. We released a V2 of our storage product at the end of last year. That was a 10x improvement over our V1 storage product. And so now this V3 storage product that's coming out in the next few weeks is another 10x improvement over storage V2. And that's just because of all the learnings we've had from working with some of our large like NFT platform customers, of their needs, what they've needed, where things were breaking or where performance was degrading, and just making sure that we could scale up as quickly as those customers needed. Because a lot of the customers we've been acquiring lately have been like essentially NFT platforms that have reached a certain level of maturity and needed a more robust infrastructure to handle their platform usage. And so we are essentially doubling down on, we think there's a lot of cool tools for like hackathon projects and startups, like who are just like NFT projects that are just getting started to use. But then once you reach a level of maturity where you really need, you know, to handle terabytes of bandwidth a day, we want to be able to service those customers and make sure that the experience on their platforms is up to par with what users expect, with, you know, images loading fast, videos, you know, not buffering. And so I'd say like, in addition to like the features you'll see that come out in V3, which are, you know, the flexibility around redundancy, whether it's multi-region clusters, so you can choose which region you want your pins in, tease that the pins will exist, the multiple backups of the NFT files, the NFT.storage, the Filecoin backup working like more seamlessly, things of that nature. In the future, we're working on things like client-side uploads, better Filecoin actions, user specific. Once you share a fleet customer base, you'll have the option to actually just do it where the deal is just specific to your files. The other features we're working on are things like image pre-processing, video processing, and then a cool feature that is also in the works is holding the metadata for your buckets on internet computer canisters. And so that adds like a trustless layer where that metadata could live. And so those are some of the interesting things we're working on. And also up until now, we've actually just offered our storage product for free. Besides big customers who are like, we kind of just did it on a manual basis. But when we release storage V3, you'll like, the pricing will be very clear, and we feel we will offer the most competitive rates besides NFT storage, which we'll do it for you for free, which is great. So if you don't have to pay, that's for sure a better option. But if you do need to start paying, the storage is going to be as low as 5 cents per gigabyte and bandwidth as low as 2.5 cents per gigabyte. And so these rates are really kind of catered towards those large customers who are doing like very high levels of bandwidth, especially, but also storage, that we're able to, with this new infrastructure we've built using a variety of platforms, mainly Bunny CDN, DigitalOcean, and a few others, that we could offer rates that are even better than, you know, AWS or some of the main cloud platforms. And that's really to, you know, align with NFT.storage and just try to support the industry and not, you know, have huge margins, but really just kind of cover our costs and continue to help the ecosystem grow. But the other feature I would say that we're adding to V3 is just a simple pinning API, because like right now for storage, it's an S3 like compatible API, and that's great for more sophisticated use cases and and structures that people want to build, but a lot of times people do just want a simple pinning API. So as part of this V3 release, in addition to every product hosting our storage current product, being on this new really robust, scalable infrastructure, essentially data sets as large as people would like, it will also now add a simple pinning API. So now we could cover pretty much all use cases and all the ways people want to add IPFS upload or pinning to their app, whatever the use case may be. So that's pretty much it. As I said, the main focuses for us are flexibility, redundancy, and sort of removing ourselves from the equation more and more. So we're not a central point of failure, but we start moving our infrastructure more onto, these networks that could handle the things we're currently doing on AWS. So that's a big focus for us for the rest of this year. And that's pretty much it. I'd say I'll end it there just to leave some time if people have questions, but yeah, you could always feel free to reach out to us afterwards if you want.
Awesome. Thanks, Harrison. And if you have any links or anything that you'd like to share, you can put them in the chat. And as he said, please find Harrison and the rest of the team on the Filecoin Slack if you have any questions that you come across later in your research. All right, everyone. I think that concludes our NFT meetup for today. Thank you always for participating, and obviously to our incredible speakers for taking the time to share your expertise and your projects with us today, and especially for displaying what an amazing ecosystem that we're building together. If you would like to stay up to date on the latest Filecoin news and events, please sign up for the Filecoin Slack and the Filecoin newsletter, and also subscribe to the Filecoin YouTube channel that will be linked in the chat. And you can also share this meetup recording as soon as it's live on the YouTube channel. Thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you at the next virtual meetup on June 8th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks again.